Hey everybody, it's Rockula, and welcome back to Rockula Retrospective. It is Monday night, November 24th, 2014, and that means it is time for the full review of The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 7, titled Crossed.
Okay. You win, asshole.
Okay, so the first thing that I want to say about this, and I'm going to get into great detail about this throughout the review, but this whole season should be nicknamed the season where we should have listened to Rick. So I'm going to expound on that in a little bit, but let's get to it here. We got Sasha opening up the show, chopping something, and whenever lately you see something happening and it looks like it's going to be something obvious, it turns out to be something that is completely benign. And obviously it's not Sasha chopping up a walker. She's chopping up one of the pews for fortification wood. And we also see why Daryl was sticking pipes into something from the preview from last episode. But yeah, once again, misdirection. I can see a little bit why some of the people are getting a little bit tired of the misdirection here. I mean, I like it as much as the next guy, but it's starting to wear a little bit thin. And we got Gabriel talking about the cross. You know, are you going to take down the cross too? And I'm like, are they purposely trying to make us hate him this much to where it's like, it's not even like the governor or something where it's hatred because somebody's evil, but I think probably the worst hatred is pity hatred. And pretty much pity hatred is what we have for Gabriel at this moment. As they're fortifying the church, you got Rick and Michonne talking about Rick staying and Michonne going, and I'm like, huh? Why are you even having this conversation? And here's something else that I'm going to get into a little bit later on in this review. Gabriel sees the blood on the floor and starts to scratch at it. And I don't know about the rest of you guys, but there's a lot of things that you could show me, gore, violence, all that stuff, that won't disturb me. But the one thing, two things that really disturb me are, well, three things really: eyes, teeth, and fingernails. Any of those three, it's just for me. And he starts scratching on the floor, and I can just, I had to go clip my nails after I saw that scene. It just squinched me out so much, and it just makes me hate him even more. We got Tyrese and Sasha in the back of the truck, and they're headed towards Atlanta. Tyrese is trying to get Sasha to deal with her grief over Bob, and she's resisting. Head over to the fire truck. Eugene is alive, but he's still unconscious. Tara tries to snap Abraham out of his big self-pity trip, but he reacts aggressively. Maggie gets the draw on him and tells him to back down and sit down, and he does. Go back over again to Rick and the group, and they're planning the attack on the hospital. And here's where Tyrese inserts his doubts into the plan, and I just saw it coming. I was like, ugh, Tyrese, you don't... I'll get to that. I wrote some more of that, and let's get through this. you don't know how badly I want to get at this subject. So let's get through with this and we'll get to the meat of my argument. We got Carl back at the church trying to convince Gabriel that he needs to learn how to defend himself. And they're building him up to something. Something's going on. Back to the hospital, Dawn is talking to one of the officers about the Noah situation, and she knows Beth is right there. Why is she discussing sensitive information like that unless she's feeding that information to Beth? No idea. But then when Beth turns around and starts getting into him about pulling the plug on Carol and the officer leaves, Dawn starts acting like she's empathizing with Beth. And then she gives her a key to the drug locker. And, it's The Walking Dead, so somebody that was slapping you around is all of a sudden being nice to you and giving you a key. Who knows? That's, I think that's going to be a trick, but, So back over to the fire truck again. Nothing really important happens. We just, have a little bit more of Abraham staring off into space and Maggie talking to him. Back to Beth in Dr. Edwards' office, and she asks him about what correct medicine to apply to Carol. And of course he's like, you have to have gotten the key, and Dawn is not giving you the correct advice. She's trying to trick you. And she's like, yeah, I know. What would you do? So, because, she's still got dirt on him. So he knows it, and he better tread lightly with Dawn or else he's out. So let's hope that epinephrine is the correct drug to give. If anybody out there knows if epinephrine is the right thing to do in that situation, please tell us in the comments. Back to Glenn and friends who have split off and they were looking for water, and they learn from Rosita how to filter water through a piece of fabric, which she said she learned from Eugene. And I gotta say, if I did actually survive some kind of apocalypse, I think that a lot of the movies that I've watched have taught me a lot of things. First time I saw the strain in the water through the piece of cloth thing was in the laugh-filled romp through the future called The Road, which is probably, other than that British nuclear Holocaust film, I forgot what the name is, I'll put it up here. It's got to be one of the most depressing movies I've ever seen. So if you want to really depress yourself, watch The Road. Anyways, I digress. She's talking about how she learned a lot of things from Eugene, and we talk about hooking up with Abraham in Dallas, Texas, where I am right now. Dallas, Texas, shout out. So go back. Rick and friends have set the trap. They chase Noah. They catch him. And they get the drop on the other cops, but only for a little bit. And the other cops come and rescue him. And everybody scatters. Daryl gets in a fight with Officer Michael Chiklis. I never watched that show. What is it? The Shield, but that guy looks like that dude from The Shield. That's it. Here we go again. Guys who look like other people in The Walking Dead. Now we can add that one guy from The Shield to this episode. He's rolling around on the ground with Daryl, and there's walkers trying to bite at him like castanets. And I really thought that this was going to happen. I've never seen anybody use a walker as a weapon. I mean, we saw Abraham do that block move where he grabbed a walker and shoved him into another walker and killed both of them. But I thought what he was going to do was grab the walker and pull his skull off his body and then have him bite Michael Chiklis. But he just conks him with the skull, which was cool. And everybody thought that, I thought he was going to get his fingers bit. But the fight continues, and then Rick gets the drop on him, and we go to the cops being held hostage. They start trying to convince Rick's group that they want Dawn out of power too, and they can facilitate a clean exchange with Dawn because they know how Dawn thinks. And, once again, I never thought that was a good idea, but, neither did most of you. Over to Glenn and friends, and they start going through these backpacks to see what they can find. And from my reaction review, I think the only really funny part of that was she's reaching into the backpack, pulls out something, and says, "Hey guys, you'll never guess what's in my backpack." Here was my reaction.
I'm in. Good. Guys, you will never believe what's in this bag.
Weed! Back to the church. Michonne checks in on Gabriel, and we see that he is removing the floorboards to escape. Flash over to the hospital. Dawn bribes one of the wards with some strawberries to act as if he is having some kind of attack to distract the guards from the medicine cabinet. Beth goes over there, gets the medicine. I hope the epinephrine is the right thing. And then she gives the guy the signal that, she got it. And I was a little bit disappointed in that. I think that if you're going to fake an attack and then all of a sudden you go, "Oh, I'm okay," somebody's going to be suspicious. It isn't like I was choking on my own blood, but I'm okay all of a sudden, It's like, wouldn't that tell you something if you're like a trained police officer or anything, if they are in fact officers? But wouldn't that tell you, what the hell? So just a little common sense moment there. We go over back to by the way, Beth goes in, holds Carol's hand, and tells her that she's there. And I kind of believe in that kind of stuff. So, positive energy going through the hand there. Back over to Sasha and Tyrese, and she's hashing it out over Bob. Rips her jacket, Bob's jacket, and she finally breaks down. And this is one of the times where Tyrese is actually useful, but still should have been back babysitting. Gabriel escapes out from underneath the church, steps on a nail on the way out. Now, somebody's going to get tetanus and they're going to die. That's why I wear steel toe boots all the time. You're going to get tetanus, Gabriel, and you're going to turn into a walker. Or, my sister told me, well, maybe he's trying to get to the hospital and they'll give him a tetanus shot there. That leaves a big speculation of, is Gabriel somebody's toady somewhere up the line? Once again, I've been saying before that we have this faceless hierarchy that Dawn and the cops are waiting for them to come in and rescue them and restore the chain of command. Or, we're now making the assumption and the connection that, of course, the hospital gang manufactured the trap at the mortuary, although that's not been confirmed. Maybe they took advantage of it. Who knows? But Magic 8 Ball says, pretty strong points to that. I don't even know what the Magic 8 Ball actually says. Blah, 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 blah. Here we go. I digress again. Officer Bob. Back to Officer Bob and Sasha. The guys have gone off to do the assault, and they leave Sasha with Officer Bob. And he gives him this completely obviously manufactured story. I mean, it's like anytime somebody starts off with something where they sit there and go, damn, that's somebody's cue to say, ask me what's wrong with me, because now he's got this whole story, and I never bought it. I hate to be a hindsight is 2020 guy, but I didn't buy it. But evidently Sasha did, because she's talking about some dude in the parking lot that she probably could kill for him. Back over, Maggie and Abraham are talking some more, and Eugene comes around. And I don't care what everybody else says about Eugene if they hate him. Eugene is my favorite character. I love Eugene. I want Eugene to last as long as possible in this series, and I'll be sad if and when he dies. I'm saying it. Eugene is going to redeem himself. He's going to learn how to kill walkers, and he's going to become the MacGyver of the group. So just stick with me on this. I love Eugene, and to the Eugene haters, well, I hate you. No, not really, but whatever. Back to Glenn and the group, and they come back after catching some fish, and we find out that it was a yo-yo. It wasn't what I thought was in the backpack in the first place. Back over to Sasha. She is going to go shoot the walker for Officer Lambert, and I think that you would have to be a total, what we call in wrestling, a mark. And I would have to say that if you didn't see this coming, I don't know why you watched this show, because a million people, just like everybody last week, is like, oh, I can't believe that the van didn't fall on, the van fell on all four wheels. I can't believe that Sasha was so stupid to turn her back on some guy just because he tells a sensitive story about his buddy. So Sasha, you get the dumbass award for the whole thing, and we end the episode. This is a time for me to address something that I probably will do in a mid-season break upload, and that is, I have a difference of opinion from most of the reviewers that take a lot of time to dissect these episodes. I mean, when you look at reviewers, you got the average Joe who's sitting in front of his webcam doing pretty much regurgitating a recap of the show, not making a lot of effort to have production value, and they don't really have much of a personality. But at the same time, those people all deserve to be on YouTube, and we're all communicating here. But what you got here are the two camps of people who really make an effort. You got the one is the YouTube entertainer, the guy that's got the slick background. They're probably going to be in front of a green screen, or they're going to have, multiple people on a set that they built, and they do like every single show, and they've got 99 videos a month, that kind of stuff. Then you got the other guys that are kind of like the curmudgeons, and those guys are the ones that like to pick apart episodes, and they hate the slow Beth and Daryl episodes, and they want everything to move constantly. And I agree, the cynical people, they can be too cynical for me. And I like to think that I fall in between those two camps where, yeah, I like to suspend my disbelief and keep the faith, but at the other time, sometimes I like to call bullshit. And I gotta say, this episode is, this episode made me question more than, or anything like the Daryl and Beth episode or any other episode. There are more glaring errors of judgment in this episode than any other episode that I can remember. Keep in mind, we're talking about a reality where reanimated corpses rise up and attack people. But nonetheless, you got to have some kind of reality. And I understand that, if people didn't make stupid decisions on this show, we'd have 25, 30 people in Rick's group. And, we gotta have people, chopped down every once in a while just to keep the herd thin. But let's talk about the 3 glaring mistakes from this episode that I just couldn't let go. Mistake number 1. I'm Rick, and I need to put together a team of people to attack a hospital with 5 cops that are heavily armed, and I need some people to stay behind at the church to protect Judith, and unfortunately Gabriel, and to back up Carl. Okay, do I take Michonne to Atlanta or do I take Tyrese to Atlanta? Who the hell thinks that Tyrese is the proper person to take to Atlanta? Come on. Michonne is silent. She's cunning. She's fast. She's small. And, no racism here, but she's black. Well, Tyrese is black too, but Tyrese is big old black. She is the perfect advanced person to go in and start chopping people. Or Tyrese, the big lumbering idiot that can't deliver unless, even when the baby is threatened, he can't deliver. So, stupid mistake on the part of Rick to take Tyrese when he should have taken Michonne. Mistake number 2. Rick is going over the plan with the group, and Tyrese inserts his anxiety and doubt into the groupthink. And, Daryl, having shown his reluctance in the last episode to hurt people, that feeds Daryl's conflict. And next thing you know, you've got 2 members of your team questioning your strategy, and you're changing your strategy at the last minute, which was completely stupid. Why has Rick not stepped up? If there's ever a time for a Rick-tatorship, it's right now. Rick just needs to step it up and say, look, man, stuff and things. I'm Rick. Do what I tell you and we'll all stay alive. But, once again, should have left Tyrese back at the church, and he probably would have screwed that up too. Mistake number 3, Sasha falling for that cheesy ass story that Officer Bob was feeding her. Come on. Even if it was a good idea to kill that the walker that he said was leaning up against the wall and blah blah blah, you could tell him, hey, tell you what, couple hours after this is all over, you and I will go out there together and we'll kill that walker together. But no. What does she do? She lets him get behind her when she turns her back on her. Now, raise your hand if you thought that this was just going to be, a feel-good moment with the piano tinkling and, Sasha was going to kill the walker, turn around, and he was going to go, thank you, Sasha. No, we all knew what was going to happen. He bum rushes Sasha and busts her face into the pane of glass. And I don't know. This episode even made me want to throw my hands up and go, come on, guys. I realize people have to make mistakes to advance the plot, but this is freaking ridiculous. Could you guys please show just a little bit of common sense here? All right, so that's something that I'm going to talk about in the midweek, the mid-season, uploads. So here we go. We got the previews for episode 8 called Coda. This is it for a while, folks. That's the mid-season finale. So we know that they're going to make this one count. We've got Rick trying to facilitate the hostage exchange, and for a moment, it looks like a YouTube video from the 80s or something. And next, we see Rick is talking to a person with a bald head, and we assume that it's one of the cops. And he's saying, you want to live? And then you cut over to Beth saying, you have to do whatever it takes. Random shots of people doing shit, but nothing really definitive. And that's kind of interesting because if this is the mid-season finale, wouldn't they have the coming up, it's the mid-season finale, and they're going to have to tease you with something, but they didn't tease you with nothing other than the exchange. They didn't say somebody's going to die or none of that stuff. So I'm a bit confused why they didn't juice this preview more. So once again, please feel free to comment, ask any questions, tell me what you think of my opinions. And also, we're coming up on the weekend re-review that I'll put up on Friday. I'll tie up the loose ends. I'll watch reviewers and come back and tell you what all the other reviewers are saying. And if you out there are watching and you're like, hey, I have a Walking Dead reviewer that I like, please let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can include them in my re-review. Until then, I'm Rockula, and this is Rockula Retrospective.